Okay, imagine uncovering a vibrant historic place that's kind of a hidden gem in Bangladesh, a city and district with just layers of story. That's what we're diving into today, Mymensingh. And this whole deep dive, it's powered entirely by source materials that you, our listener, sent in. A really great mix, some videos, some web excerpts, different ways of looking at it. Our mission, pretty simple, really. We want to cut through all the info, pull out the most important bits, the key knowledge and insights about Mymensingh's history, its culture, how it's developing, and basically give you a shortcut to understanding what makes this place tick.
Yeah, and it's actually remarkable how these different sources, they sort of let us piece together a really rich picture. They keep framing Mymensingh as, well, more than just a name on a map. They talk about it as a symbol, heritage, learning, progress. It feels like a place with a really clear identity, rooted in its past, but also looking forward.
I like that framing. Sets the stage perfectly. So, all right, let's start right at the beginning. Let's unpack the history. So, where did Mymensingh actually come from? The sources point to its formal start as a district, pretty far back, 1787, under British rule.
And what's really fascinating from the sources is the story behind the name itself. It's layered.
Hmm.
One belief is it came from a Hindu sage, Eman Shah, and the name just sort of evolved. But there's another strong theory linking it to a Sufi saint from the Mughal era, Momin Shah. And that apparently led to Momin Shahi, which the sources say eventually morphed into Mymensingh.
Right. And just when you think that's settled, there's another story connecting the name to Mughal Emperor Akbar's general, Man Singh. It really shows how many different historical threads are woven into its identity. Oh, and the sources also mention it had a previous name, Nasirabad.
Exactly, Nasirabad first. And then if we look at that British period again, the sources really stress its importance wasn't just administrative. It became known for the zamindari system.
Ah, the big landlord system.
Right. Those powerful landlords controlled huge areas, really shaping the social structure. And it was also crucial for trade routes, particularly its river port that was key for exporting things like jute, other agricultural stuff, made a real economic hub for the region.
And that economic power, it seems like it fed into political awareness too, because the sources mention it played a notable role in the anti-colonial movement, a hub for political activity.
hmm The historical description of its geography is pretty vivid too. Hor, jungle, moisture shing. That translates apparently to lowland, forest, buffalo horn. Paints a picture of a, wilder, more expansive landscape back then. Originally covered a massive area, something like 4,787 square miles. Then it gradually shrunk through administrative changes to its current size, 333.48 square kilometers by 1984.
And speaking of administration, that journey kept going much more recently. Mymensingh officially became a city corporation in 2018. What does that signify, really, about its modern status?
Well, becoming a city corporation, that's a pretty significant step. It marks its elevation,
Okay.
to a major urban center. It means more administrative autonomy, more focus on city development, really formalizes its role as a key city in Bangladesh today.
Makes sense. Looking at the map now, the sources show it's bordered by the Garo Hills and Meghalaya, that's India to the north, Gazipur south, Netrokona and Kishoriganj east, and then Sherpur, Jamalpur, Tangail to the west. Sits in a pretty central spot, doesn't it? Well connected. Okay, now, moving from geography to culture, there was one detail the sources mention. The name Mymensingh is said to mean my people sing. That sounds like a fantastic lead-in to its cultural side.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that connection to song, it's deeply reflected in its cultural heritage, especially its folk music. The Mymensingh Gadita, it's this famous collection of Bengali ballads from the region. They depict these timeless themes, love, heroism, social life.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The sources highlight these legendary poets, Chandrakumara and Deshchandra Sen. They weren't just writers, they were crucial in actually collecting and preserving these traditional stories, passing them on. We even get names of specific famous ballads from the sources, like Mahua, Chandravati, and Bilua.
And what really stands out there is the sort of academic effort to preserve all this. Dr. Dinesh Chandra Sen from Calcutta University, he took these folk songs, collected them, edited them, and then they got translated into English and Persian. The sources note this gave them status in world literature, which is quite something, isn't it? A local tradition getting global recognition through scholarly work.
Wow. And beyond those famous ballads, the city keeps its heritage alive. Through festivals, theater, literary events, it's described in the sources as the land of Mahua Molua, suggesting those figures are still really present in its identity.
hmm And the connection to arts and culture isn't just history. The sources point out Artacharya Zainul Abidin, the pioneer of modern art in Bangladesh, he was apparently really inspired by the beauty of the Brahmaputra River, the one flowing right by the city. Drew lots of pictures based on it. And even the national poet, Kazi Nazrul Islam, has specific memories tied to Trishul Upazila. That's a sub-district there.
Yeah.
Shows the region's ongoing influence, right?
Definitely. And building on that theme of knowledge, recognition, the sources make it crystal clear. Mymensingh is highly renowned for its educational institutions, really solidifying its reputation as a major academic hub in the country.
Absolutely. The sources consistently highlight Bangladesh Agricultural University, BAU. They frame it as a leading institution, not just in Bangladesh, but like across South Asia, specifically for agricultural studies and research. That's a huge point of national pride, and it pulls in students from all over, even internationally.
And it's certainly not just BAU, is it? The sources also list other big names contributing to this reputation. Mymensingh Medical College, Mymensingh Engineering College, and the historic Ananda Mohan College.
Yeah, and the sheer volume of institutions the sources mention is striking. Over 2,600 primary schools, hundreds of secondary schools and colleges, 2 universities, 2 medical colleges, more beyond that. It really paints a picture of a place where education isn't just, present, it's deeply woven into the district's fabric, a place seriously invested in learning.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. From education to economics, Mymensingh definitely has that strong agricultural base we touched on, but the sources point to one particular thing it's exceptionally famous for.
Ah, yes. It's widely known as the fish capital of Bangladesh. The sources bring this up again and again, famous for freshwater fish production. They specifically mention areas like Trishul and Muktagacha Upazilas, those sub-districts again.
The fish capital, that really sticks with you. So what does that production actually look like on a bigger scale? Is it significant nationally?
Oh, it's substantial. The sources give us some numbers. In 2019-2020, it was the third highest contributor to rice production in Bangladesh, with a surplus, actually, that helps feed the rest of the country. And for fisheries, it's the 5th highest contributor to the national GDP from that sector.
Wow. So its strength in agriculture and fish isn't just a local thing at all. It has a real measurable impact on Bangladesh nationally. Food security, the economy. And the sources mention the local economy is also supported by smaller industries, busy markets, trade. Okay, so for anyone listening whose curiosity is piqued, maybe thinking about visiting, the sources offer a glimpse into Mymensingh's places of interest too. They list several tourist attractions, like Shasha Lodge, described as a historic palace, Alexander Castle, and the Zainal Abidin Museum dedicated to that artist we talked about.
Right. And that beautiful Brahmaputra River pops up again here.
Yeah.
Not just as inspiration, but as a peaceful natural escape mentioned in the sources. Nearby tea gardens and just green landscapes also add to the district's appeal, apparently.
There are other interesting spots highlighted too. The Botanical Garden, Muktagacha Rajbari, that's another historic residence, right? A Zamindar's Place, Ramgopalpur Zamindar Bari, specific city landmarks like the Circuit House, Town Hall Park. The sources even give glimpses of old architectural styles and these kind of romantic ruins of other old Zamindar houses scattered around.
It does make you wonder about the geography that shaped it all. The sources list quite a few rivers flowing through the district, not just the Brahmaputra. There's the Shomeshwari, Mogra, Kangsha, Sutia, several others. That whole network of rivers must have been absolutely crucial historically for trade, transport, farming, defining the landscape.
It certainly sounds like a place with incredibly deep historical roots, cultural roots too, but the sources also show it's very much focused on the present and the future. They highlight modern development.
Yes, that transformation seems quite visible. Since becoming a city corporation in 2018, the sources indicate Mymensingh is undergoing, pretty rapid urban development. There's a focus on modernizing roads, healthcare, digital services, public infrastructure, the works.
So it's definitely changing. But is that modernization? Is it coming at the cost of its traditional character? What do the sources suggest?
Well, what's really interesting, what comes through in the sources, is that despite this push for modernization, the city seems to be actively trying to retain its traditional charm. The sources suggest a kind of unique blend is emerging, old and new, where new infrastructure isn't necessarily just replacing the past, but it's being integrated alongside it, allowing the city to evolve but still hold on to its identity.
Okay, interesting balance. Finally, the sources give us a quick look at some notable people linked to Mymensingh, beyond the artists and poets we already mentioned.
Yeah, recognizing the people who came from or were shaped by the region, that's key to understanding its legacy, right? Besides Zainal Abidin and Kazi Nazrul Islam, the sources list figures like Abdul Jabbar, known as a martyr in the language movement. That was such a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
We also see writers like Upendra Kishore Ray Chowdhury and Sukumar Ray, the world-renowned scientist Jagadish Chandra Bose,
Mhm.
singer Mitali Mukherjee, and even the cricketer Mahmudullah Riyad. It really highlights the diverse contributions, doesn't it? Art, science, literature, music, sports, all coming from this region.
Wow, okay. Looking back at everything we've pulled from these sources, Mymensingh truly is a multi-layered place. From its ancient origins, those fascinating name stories, to that incredibly rich folk culture with the Gita ballads, its strength as a major academic center, its vital agricultural economy, the fish capital, its beautiful landscapes, historic sites, and that intriguing blend of holding on to tradition while embracing the new.
It really is. Like one source nicely puts it, it stands as a symbol of heritage, learning, and progress. A real jewel of Bangladesh. We've seen how its history under different rulers through different eras shaped its present, how its culture is still thriving, even getting global recognition, and how its economic and educational strengths, they contribute significantly, both regionally and nationally.
Yeah, this deep dive, using the sources you shared with us, it's definitely given us a much fuller, more nuanced picture. Started as this key district under the British, grew through trade, farming, nurtured arts and education, saw administrative changes, and now it's navigating this rapid modern urban development while, according to the sources, managing to hold on to its core traditions.
And that whole journey, it raises a really interesting question, I think, stemming directly from what the sources show us. As a place like Mymensingh modernizes as it grows,
Yeah.
how does it actually ensure the preservation of those deep cultural and historical roots we've just explored? And not just preserve them, but keep them accessible. How does it make sure that rich past remains a living part of its future? That's something for you to really think about.
Absolutely. That's a great thought to leave you with as you process all this. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Mymensingh.